I'll do a little bit of talking before a segue. Actually, Maura and I moved here in 2018. We actually moved our family here. We made it Wisconsin our home. We chose Wisconsin for a variety of things, but one was Madison, the great landscape that we have here, and the people. Maura is right back there at the ULI table. So again, thanks for allowing us to say a few words. It was 2018 since we last updated you at a DMI breakfast. And I want to thank Jason for the great introduction, and Evo and the team too. It's wonderful to be here at this point in time because we're beyond the point of no return for Wisconsin's History Center. All right, yeah. For the past 21 years, this project has been going on. Governor Thompson started it. Governor Doyle moved it forward. Governor Walker actually took it again. And when I got here, there was a letter that was given to me by Governor Walker and also Secretary Neitzel. And that letter said, if you raise $30 million, we'll contribute $70 million to the project. And so since the last meeting that we talked about this in 2018, we've done that. We've raised $39 million to do that. And so I want to actually talk about this in terms of not just me, but the leadership team here. So could the leadership team of the Wisconsin Historical Society, as well as the Wisconsin Historical Foundation, along with Susan Schmitz and George Austin, who are working on the project, please stand. This is the team that gets it done. In 2018, we started chapter 1 of this story, this journey into the 21st century. And that was actually building this wonderful facility, the State Archive Preservation Facility, which if you haven't been there, we're doing tours. And you got to talk to Julie and the team to do that. But we have people coming through it every month, almost every week right now. It's a fascinating place that is not just a preservation building, it's a place where we create access to the collections. And what I mean by that is that we worked for years to organize these collections, to put them in great condition, but also be able to move them around, not just in our venues, but across the country and across the world. Jason talked about us being one of the finest state historical societies. You should know our collection is second to none as far as North American history, only to the Library of Congress. And it's here in Wisconsin. It's in there. So if you want to see it, you come by sometime, but also you're going to see it in the History Center. That's the idea of the History Center, is to democratize the collection, to actually create access to this wonderful collection and create experiences that people really haven't thought about. We call it a History Center because it's more than a museum. And this is really important. There are going to be exhibitions and programs, but there's going to be spaces for dialogue and engagement. There's going to be times when actually we can pull people together. We expect the legislature to come over to use it. We expect all of you to use it. But the idea is using history, not just looking at the past, but taking the present, inspiring us to build a better future. So when we look at the idea of 21 years ago of building a history center, we actually looked at this building where we're in, the State Historical Museum, and we moved in there in 1984. It's the old Ruf Kubli-Hersig hardware store. And it's been okay for us, but it's been a small space compared to other museums. Since that point in time, in 1992, the Minnesota Historical Society built their history center over in St. Paul. And then after that, in 2006, or 2002 actually, the Indiana State Museum built theirs. North Dakota, established in 2017, their new addition, which brought them up to par in the 21st century, they have over 200,000 square feet. And we thought it's time that Wisconsin has a history center that actually the people deserve. And what I mean about that is that this is the People's Museum. It's being designed by the people for the people. And we talked a little bit about this in 2018 because we launched this project, Share Your Voice. Right before the pandemic, we actually talked to close to 60 communities and held multiple sessions, all the sovereign nations too. We went out, we didn't ask people to come here. We actually went to 6 different places in Madison to have these conversations of not what we were doing, but what do people want to have in a museum back then? And that's where it evolved into a history center because people wanted more than that. So if you think about all of these conversations, obviously there's things like in Superior, we do shipping across the world, But you know what? They want to be noticed and recognized as the arsenal of democracy. Why? Because the iron ore and taconite was being shipped out to places like the steel mills in Pittsburgh, in Ohio, and they wanted to be recognized in that story. It was just a wonderful journey in identity. We're keeping it going and we haven't stopped. Even through the pandemic, we were interviewing people. So we're close to like 5,000, 6,000 people that have been part of that project. And since in 2018, we've been collecting. We've been doing things that have actually put Madison and Wisconsin on the map around the world, such as this. 2021, we actually recovered a canoe, dugout canoe in Lake Medona, 800 years old. Or from the year 800, 1,200 years old, excuse me. Historians shouldn't do that. They need the exact dates. So this was our first one. The second one came in 2022. And you see this man that's on the left of your screen, and you see him here too. That's Jim Skibo. Jim Skibo is the state archaeologist. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 weeks ago. But his legacy with us is absolutely amazing. Jim forged, like all of our team, thinking about how do you bring history into the future? Jim worked on these projects with his team, the Maritime Archaeology team, and what he left us is a pathway. In his scholarship, he published more than 11 books, the journals that he wrote, the journals he edited, and his work across the world on how to create more resources for Wisconsin to enjoy and our school children to enjoy, but also telling stories from the past that have not been told. So through this project, we forged a motto called everything we do of significance, we do so in partnership with others. And here is the Ho-Chunk Nation president, Marlon White Eagle, with the cultural leaders and the legislative branch of the Ho-Chunk Nation, along with Bad River leadership and Menominee leadership. We didn't do this by ourselves. Again, everything we do of significance, we do in partnership with others. And that has been how we move this project forward. And I'm going to keep talking about that all the way to the end of this thing, because you're going to participate in this project in some manner. So obviously we needed a team. Evo Smith Group joined us with Continuum. We selected them because, and they were very humble about what they've done. They're talking about what they're doing now. Smith Group actually has designed many of the Smithsonian museums, the Smithsonian American Indian Museum, as well as the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. Continuum has actually done the addition to the Chazen Museum and many projects around here. So we have local and international talent joining each other to make this happen. The other thing we did is we hired an amazing exhibition experience design team, Ralph Applebaum and Associates, another international team. If you've been to Centennial Park, they designed that. Centennial, it's not that, it's Alumni Park. Maura corrected me when I was doing this. She thought, you're in Chicago, you gotta stop doing that. So it's Alumni Park right down the street, and they did an amazing job. But here's the secret sauce, right? We have the team that actually did the architecture for the National Museum of African American History and Culture and the experiences of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. That's the team that's actually building your history center for the future. The other thing that Ralph Applebaum and Associates did too, they've done everything from the United States Capitol Visitation Center. They have done other state museums. They're just on top of it, and we're lucky to have them. So moving forward, let's talk about where we are right now and how we're going to get this done. So this idea of the History Center is to be inspiring, to explore, to be a place where people can actually unlock the history of the past and connect it to themselves. The other thing about this is we're not just talking about Wisconsin experiences, but American experiences. And the reason why is we're thinking this is going to actually be a regional museum, if not a national destination. So how are we going to do that? 3 pillars are holding up the public experience. The first is the idea of being a center of American history, right? Sounds a little weird. We were supposed to be building a state museum. It should be a center of Wisconsin history, right? But how about the concept that we can tell Wisconsin's story in the context of the American story? We can do that because we have the collection. We can go back 12,000 years ago and talk about the land that we're on right now. That's not only the ancestral home of the Ho-Chunk, it is their home today. We can talk about all of these great, wonderful stories and what does it mean in America to actually connect us to that. The idea of this is that people will be able to come, school kids, and look at the first copy of the Constitution, look at the first copy of the Declaration, read Thomas Jefferson letters. They don't have to go to Washington, D.C. People are going to come here to Madison and get connected through all 72 counties. The other thing is a flagship venue. You may not know your Wisconsin Historical Society is one of the largest in the nation too. So we publish close to 15 titles a year in our press. We actually published the 4th grade textbook. It's now almost 75% of the students using it in the state of Wisconsin. To let you know what that means in an average across the United States, other historical societies are about 42. So we do things that are really different here. And one of the reasons why that textbook is doing really well is because we teach kids and teachers on how to present history and engage history through the investigative process, not just memorizing dates. We make it fun. So we teach kids on how to go back in the past and explore. So that's the flagship piece, along with the State Historical Preservation Office, along with our retail that we're doing, the reproductions, and the amazing collection that gets used around the world. The third piece is the Center for Community Engagement. This is really singing towards a history center. We don't want it to be just a place where you walk in and see exhibits. This is a place where you can go and have a meeting. You're going to see in the future drawings that the free space is the entire first floor. This is a place that, people will be able to come in, have a lunch, look at different things, have a program, have an experience, very large space. And it's actually our scholar advisory committee called it you guys are building Wisconsin's living room in this way. So we want it to be that community center. It'll be a welcoming piece of architecture you'll see, but also the operation will be that as well. So other parts of the identity, quality of life. The recent census stated 14% growth plus in Dane County. It's just emerging, the population's coming in. What do those populations need? What do those communities need? Well, they need resources in the future too. We look at ourselves as one of those pieces. So quality of life, people who own businesses and he's trying to recruit staff here. We look at this history center as a tool for you to do that and also for your families to enjoy. The driver of tourism, again, this great American history collection. We're working with the History Council or the Tourism Council of Wisconsin to help do this. But this is what people have been noticing across the world right now in the history community. They're looking at us like, okay, they're waking up the sleeping giant. And because they've known about this collection, but the public hasn't had access to it. So we think this is going to be a great driver of tourism to come to Madison, see the canoes, and actually stick around in hotels as well. Economic development, not just the idea of visitors. We actually are working with the governor's office and the legislature to actually build a place where they can actually bring in business people to talk about investment in Wisconsin, thinking about our great stories of technology, our great stories of agriculture, our amazing stories of innovation. It will be done here. And so thinking of how we can participate, not only as a step back in time and history, thinking about how you connect your family life to it, but also for business. And then of course, as an educational resource. We're not going to stop with that because we actually want to keep connecting to 72 counties on this one. This is more than a bricks and mortar project. We're actually building the digital system where people at their homes in Superior, Bayfield, La Crosse, Milwaukee can actually pull up this great content, and the teachers and students can do it in the classroom too. So another part of the identity is the past, the present, to the future, as I talked about. We want to have a building that embraces history, that can create an exposure to it, create those stories, but we wanted the building to be a story, be a hub of inspiration and exploration. As Jason said, it's the most populated and busiest intersection in the state of Wisconsin. We want that to be not a kind of oh, I'm going in the historical Wisconsin Historical Society, and kind of this old draft thing. We want it to be exciting, powerful, dynamic. We want people to actually be enlivened through that. The Great Connector, again, 72 counties. How does a piece of architecture connect to Madison, the Capitol Square, as well as the rest of the state? And then acknowledging our cultures and our histories. So even going back with the sovereign nations and talking about this in 2018, one of the things that they wanted to do is they wanted to welcome people to their ancestral lands and their lands today. And that'll happen. It'll also be a place where people can actually present their own history. There's going to be a community gallery. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But the idea of this is actually people will be able to actually talk about their own stories. Families can explore their own stories too. So I mentioned we're beyond the point of no return. This is actually, I was talking to a few people earlier about this. This is the beginning of construction. This is actually the beginning of demolition. We're actually pulling out a car out of the fourth floor there, third floor. And the idea of this is that, we'd have a building that you actually can't, get the cars out through the front door. We use cranes to do that. So the Kissel came out last week, as well as other things. This is the beginning of the new. So why are we building this? This small little hardware store can only have 22,000 students in it a year. We booked 79,000 students for the Capitol. Okay, we sell out schools that can't get it. The Wienermobile that we have from 1969, it can't fit in this thing. It can't even fit in that open wall. The great collection that we have, including documents, like I was saying, from Lewis and Clark. We have a Lewis and Clark journal or Thomas Jefferson papers. They can't go on exhibit because we don't have the right lighting for it. And you can't enjoy it because it's so cramped. So that's why we're building this as a bigger building, 100,000 square foot building. And that is the beginning of it. So where are we today? We're actually going to be building on that site. We bought the buildings next to us from the Mose family, Fred Mose, and we're moving forward with it. We actually had a little bit of a run around the Capitol during the pandemic, during the sites, but we came back because Mr. Mose wanted to sell to us because he wanted the students to have the vision of the Capitol and an educational experience that he had in his office. So there we are. That's going to be the base block of what we're building. Right on Carroll, right on Mifflin, and right on State. So when we look at this, we start looking at the topography and how we actually working with the actual space. A few people were asking me questions about how are you actually going to build this out? Where's the construction cranes going to be? It's landlocked, right? And those are important things. Also, a ton of utilities underneath this thing and running through it. There's a vault right in front of us. It's a huge electrical vault. Also, neighbors and stakeholders. What do they want? How do you guys want it as DMI to operate? So our team with Wes's leadership and George's leadership in the past series of weeks has gone back out into the neighborhoods talking about this. We're going to continue to do that throughout this year. And we're just going to do it all the way to opening day, because this is not just a static place. This is a place when we open it up, will be dynamic, as I said, and be engaging. So again, how do you design a building? And Montiel Crawley, along with Evo and the team, Montiel's the lead architect on this, really started looking at this. Okay, you want to build a museum in Madison, it's on Capitol Square, but how do you connect it to the rest of the state? How do you do that? Digitally, they got it, but they really wanted to work on the story of the building to make that happen. So it all starts with Capitol Square, the Isthmus. How do you line a building up with that? So here we go. If you look at this little twist of a box, it's on top of another box that's facing the Capitol. And there's a white dotted line that's facing the Capitol. So the alignment to the Capitol is extremely important. It's a National Historic Landmark. We wanted to embrace the community there, but also it's part of the architectural landscape. And then there's a bit of a twist in reference to the concept of how do you actually connect the building out to the state? And where would those lines go? Not just to the Capitol, and how far would they go back out? Again, across the state. The idea of apartheid, an architectural term, also just a reference in philosophy about having two different things combined together. The apartheid actually is just a different kind of a switch connection for us to actually think about how do you actually create maybe two experiences in one building, one for Madison and one for the rest of the state. So the idea of the History Center is to actually operate in this manner. You're actually looking in the side view of the floors. The lobby is where you walk in. There'll be a school lunchroom. We don't have that today. We'll have retail. We'll have a cafe. We do not have that today. We'll have a temporary gallery. We'll have exhibits. We'll have a multi-purpose room. We'll have an event space. And I'm going to give you a little hint for the future. The beginning of June, we're actually going to be exposing and putting out all of the interior documents of this. You'll get to see a fly-through. You'll get to see a sneak peek at the exhibits. So we're not ready now because it's not done. And the reason why I say it's not done is because literally Evo and us were actually in the studio here in Madison up until Tuesday at 4 o'clock, making decisions about this. You guys are about to see the latest of this. Some of these drawings have come out, but we've made decisions and we're going to share them with you. So the landscape was important. As Jason said, coming up State Street. This is sneaking in what the building could be with two different parts to it. Looking at it from Overture Center, we look at ourselves as a partner with Overture, with the library, with the new Vets Museum project that's coming up as well too, along with the Children's Museum and all the cultural investment that's going on East Washington too. And then how do you relate it to the actual landscape? Again, we're landlocked, but we have this little space on the side of us on Mifflin that's currently called Philosopher's Grove. That's where we're going to lay down the construction site. Rather than having cranes in the road, we're actually going to be taking that over, and that's going to be the construction site. There will be a little pathway going through for pedestrians. People will be able to get by. They won't have to walk around the block. But the important thing about this is we're not going to be in the Capitol streets, or we're not going to be down State Street with cranes. We're going to be located there. And the other part of this too is we're putting it back. Okay, so we're going to be ripping it up, but we're putting it back. There's going to be a lot of conversations about how we're putting it back. But one of the things that we've already talked to the cultural leaders of in Madison, that being Overture as well as the library and other spaces, how do you make it a connector for everybody? How do you make it a space that's dynamic, live, but also creates great pathways to our cultural organizations and their experiences in the Capitol? This is where we were a few months ago, and you saw these things in the newspaper. This is actually a shot of the block, the massing, if you will, and it's in night sky. And I want to show you this because a lot of people thought this was a glass building, and it's really not. There's a glass atrium down below, but it gives you a sense of like how it'll look across the street. Here's the drawing from Tuesday. What's the difference? So if you look on the top, you're looking at these dark panels. And you're looking at the sawtooth edge, there's dark ridges in the panels down below. The dark panels on top are zinc. Those shiny panels down below are steel. Why did we pick those? Well, two Wisconsin metals. There's zinc mines in Wisconsin. The Historical Society actually owns one in Mineral Point. And also there's steel that's being made and shipped out from the taconite that we pull out and mine and ship across the world. It's going to be lots of wood on the inside too. But the idea of these metals too, these noble metals, is actually they will reflect the light and change the color with the day too and the season. This is a very dynamic building. This will look alive. It won't look like there's a big cement building that I don't know if I want to go in there or not. We're making it very welcoming, trying to, right? I hope you see that this is going to be a place where people want to go in. Closer view of it. So the entrance is going to be off the side of the park, right? And this is a bit of a twist to figure out how do you create some wonderful energy in the park for the citizens? How do you create spaces where people can collaborate together and innovate and have fun? There could be a jazz thing there too. We could do all sorts of things. Also, let's be honest, farmers market is always going to grow. If we have 14% growth going on in Dane County, more people are going to be coming, to that. So we wanted to create a space that actually brings people in and shares space with people too. This is the entrance, and look at the color of the zinc. This is actually what the zinc will look like. It's got this kind of mottled look, but imagine the light picking this up and changing it. So rather than imagine, let's take a look at it. This is, you can see how the building's changing its color from the atrium down below being glass, but at the top, how it changes. And you're noticing a couple of things. There's some people up on the terrace there. There's this terrace on the fourth floor, as well as the top terrace. All right, let's do that again, right? That went by a little fast. So this time I'd like you to take a quick look down below. You saw the colors, you saw the change of the colors of the building. Look down below, you'll see the staircase on the inside. Also look above at the terraces. Look how people are up there. We're going to talk about why that's going on. So you can see the people in the staircase there. You can see the cafeteria and the platform there. Then you see people standing on these terraces that are the first set of terraces. That's where exhibits are. People are going to actually learn about our landscape, learn about our agriculture, and go out and look at it. They'll look at Lake Mendota. There'll be education experiences out there too. That'll tie to Bayfield, tie to Milwaukee, tie to Superior. This is a dynamic learning building. Some people have said, can you actually do curling up there too? We're actually looking into that. Angela Titus, who couldn't be here today, she's our chief programming officer. She's really excited in her team about these spaces. Oh, we're going to go one more time, I guess. And this actually just happened this Wednesday or Tuesday. Thanks to Eagle and the team for bringing this up so we actually could show you. Again, this is the latest image of what we're doing. Okay, so the Wisconsin History Center, it has this presence. It has these wonderful terraces. It has a space up on top that we can hold events. Again, not just a place of exhibitions, but also a place of exploration and a place of discovery. We want people to actually walk away looking at the world differently. The other thing I want them to do is I want them to walk away, if they're coming from out of town, and never think about our state as a flyover state again. And I want our residents to think that too. I want our residents to be proud of their history, proud of their place, and not think of us as being a secondary state with us to fly over. That's, in my mind, absolutely ridiculous. As a historian, think about this. The supercomputer came from Wisconsin, Cray 1. The innovations in agriculture like Babcock came from Wisconsin. Think about Harley Davidson. Someone was saying, well, you know, Harley Davidson, it's another motorcycle. Oh, no, it's not. It is the cycle, right? People around the world, they know that Harley is a Wisconsin cycle and they know it's a Milwaukee cycle, right? It's our heritage, it's our shared heritage, and we need to be proud of it. Part of the experience that you're going to hear about in June is how Wisconsin identity is going to be presented in American culture. Think about our Packers team, right? I was talking about this at one of the tables. There's a Packers bar in Paris. We're going to connect to that. We're going to do programs in Paris with the Packers. Isn't that cool? So the views analysis. So from the balconies, this is what you'll see. A terrific view of the Capitol. And also looking to make Lake Mendota. So what's going to happen between now and opening those doors in 2026? We actually, like I said, we pulled out all the exhibits, the stores there right now, that's about to go in the next couple of months. But thanks to ULI's leadership, and I see them around here, they've actually worked with us to create a transition space in US Bank. And we're thankful for that leadership because right now, the 70,000 kids that visit the tours are coming through the US Bank, meeting our educators, and these spaces here on the first floor, and they're getting still an educational program and they can go back to their community. We're also talking about the new History Center. We're not shutting down in Madison. We're alive. We're actually going to be going around the entire state to every region with programs and exhibitions and speeches, as well as bringing our authors out there to talk. We're not going dark, people. We're building right now. This is happening in front of you. And here are the kids. So if these kids are coming to Madison still, and the opportunity with their teachers are still being trained to learn for the future, think about what our role is still in this. We're not done designing. I can't show you the exhibits yet because they're not done, right? We're going to start demolition in 2024 in January. And then it takes a few years to complete the building and then put the exhibits in it. We're going to show you along the way with cameras of how this develops. But we want you to participate. Go back to a few slides when I talked about everything of significance. We do so in partnership with others. This is the opportunity for you. Businesses, talk to us. What do you need? You have workforce development. You're thinking about what you want to do to draw people here. We want to hear about it. If you want to participate in the fundraising, because we have 18 million more to go because of construction inflation, come to me. Come to Julie. We want to partner with you on that. It's important because this is our history center. This is not a private thing. This is Wisconsin's. This is the residents. This is a history center that's being designed by the people for the future. And the future is the people that are not here yet. Think about this. Future generations are going to come here and learn your stories. They're going to learn your grandparents' stories, and they're going to be inspired to build a better future. So I'd like you to join me in building the future of history. Thank you all.
Well, that was absolutely amazing. There's two things I do know. One, that our downtowns are organic. They're constantly changing, and we've seen a bunch of change in the last couple of years. And two, we need to be building a downtown that's economically strong, equitable, inclusive, and vibrant to live, work, and play. And this project does that in spades. It creates a magnet for workers to come back down and want to work downtown. It creates a magnet for people to want to live downtown. It creates a magnet for the folks from Fitchburg and Middleton and throughout the entire state to come to our place. And it also will become a magnet for the Chicago money and Minneapolis money and Tokyo, Japan money to come downtown. This will help ensure that downtown is economically vibrant, that it is equitable and inclusive in a place that everyone feels like they belong. So Christian, thank you for your amazing work. We cannot wait. I literally have a window in our office to reconstruction. So thank you. We cannot wait to see this museum in 2026. Let's give another round of applause to Christian and the team, the Wisconsin Historical Society. Know that DMI is here to help in any way we can, including you're now ruling my secret path in and out of downtown. So during the construction process. So thank you very much. We also want to say a huge thank you to our major series sponsor, our great friends at Carlson, Black O'Callahan and Battenberg, Ho Chunk Gaming Madison, Lake Ridge Bank, our friends at Urban Land Interest, amazing work, and thank you for all you're doing to provide the temporary space and all you do for downtown. The Smith Group, thank you to Eva and Lana and the team. We really appreciate that absolutely incredible design, and the Edgewater Hotel. We're going to see you here back in a month's time. Thank you for all you do, and we'll also see you around downtown. Talk to you soon. Bye now.